What's going on, everybody? I'm Kenneth,
And I'm Liddell.
and we are
The
the
Grams.
Grams. And this is our next episode of the Grams, The Journey, a newlywed's guide to learning through love. We are grateful and excited to share our next episode with you on today. But before we do that, we do want to give a recap on our previous episode, which we shared the first part of the love language. And as you all know, me and my wife discussed our love language, how we spoke each other's love language, and just some tools and some ways in which we can help you guys to do it as well. We thought about it. We really had to think about it, and we said, we had to really further this by making a part two because it's a really in-depth subject,
Yeah.
and we want to help you guys as we go throughout this particular episode.
And
Um,
it garnered a lot of conversation. I mean, people listened to the podcast and began um, talking with their partners and
right.
taking the inventory and finding out about each other's love language. And so we want to just continue the conversation in this one and hopefully continue to build on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this particular topic we want to talk about is the love tank.
Mm-hmm.
The love tank, guys. Listen, love tank,
It's a
and
big part of it.
yeah. And when I think about the love tank, oftentimes think about a gas, and you can go more into the gas.
And so in the book, when you read about the five love languages, you understand what they are, you understand how to speak them, but it also talks about having everybody has a love tank, kind of like
Right,
a gas tank. And when you speak each other's love language, it fills that tank up. But when you're not speaking that language, that gas tank is just slowly and slowly evaporating,
right,
right? And so you have to kind of take inventory of where you are in your love tank,
right,
where your partner is in their love tank,
right,
and being proactive and not allowing that love tank to get on E. You're driving
right,
on fumes and like,
right,
I hope I make it home,
right.
and you wishing and praying, but you don't have to do that,
You don't, and absolutely, that's the thing. That's why we talked about the love language, because if you're going to feel that your partner's love tank, you have to know their love language, which is why we went back to the second episode,
hmm
because that's the foundation of everything. You can't feel their love tank if you don't know their love language.
right. And just to give you a reminder, if you haven't listened to that second podcast, I would say check it out. But those five love languages are acts of service,
Yes.
quality time,
Yep.
gifts, physical touch, and words of
Yes.
affirmation. And so, if you want to know more about those, check out that podcast. And there is a book, The Five Love Languages. There's a ton of articles out there, as well as some supplemental books for you to look into. But invest in yourself, invest in your relationship. This is a really great way to do that.
Yeah, it's very critical, because what it says is that the relationship means a lot to you, and when
Mm-hmm.
you're taking that time to invest, you're telling yourself, but not only yourself, more importantly, your partner, how much of a priority that relationship is.
Right.
And speaking of love tanks, I was actually doing some research on an article. Well, just trying to figure out articles in which to help us to go throughout this topic that we're going to talk about. And I came upon an article, and it was written in 2008. I know that was pretty early, some
Mm-hmm.
years back, probably 10 years back, but it
Mm-hmm.
was really relevant to today. And one of the quotes that it said was, well, here it says, inside every child is an emotional tank waiting to be filled with love. Now, although this is geared towards children, you can take this article and relate it to, your significant other and yourself.
Right.
And so, with that being said, inside every single person, this is what we had to learn, is an emotional love tank. It's a love tank that has to be filled,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to take those initiatives and put forth the effort to fill in that tank.
Mm-hmm. And just kind of a sidebar, the five love languages isn't just about romantic relationships.
Right.
There is a book, The Five Love Languages for Children.
Yeah.
So if you do have children and want to know what their love language is and garnering that relationship, that's something you can check out too. But getting back to the love tank, understanding that we all have one. And going back to, I know I'm equating it a lot to the gas tank, but
Mhm.
I a person who I drive my car on E. I know you should not, but
Right.
I'm one of those people like I know my car, and so although the needle is on E, I know I could probably drive another day and
Right.
a half before I go get some gas. But understanding that just because I can doesn't mean that I should, because it puts my car in a crisis mode,
Yeah.
right? And you want to make sure that when you're looking at your partner and their love tank, you can be like, well, I know, when my partner really needs something,
Right.
or, I know them. But the question that I always have to ask myself about honey is, do I want to run him to the limit and then do curative work when I could do some preventative work
Yeah.
and asking, babe, where are you in your love tank? Am I speaking your language? Because I may think I am, but how are you feeling? And
Yeah.
allowing him to be that thermometer for me, or that measurement for me, because it's
Right.
his love language, not mine, and I can't dictate how he should feel about it.
Right. And that's really true, because normally we go into a relationship, we go in thinking that we know this person because we may have been together with them for so long
Mm.
and things like that. And we have to understand that people change constantly.
Yes,
And with
yes.
that being said, that person's love language may change and you don't even know it. And so, what I've had to realize is that every single day I have to be intentional and deliberate in knowing what her love language is and be able to fill her tank.
Mhm.
And the reason why I say that, is because when it comes down to this, we have to always train our minds to think of it as something new, and it's so
Mhm.
easy for us to get into a relationship and become common
Right,
with
right.
that person, and we think
Mhm.
we know that person, and we really don't know that person. And I thought I knew who Liddell was. I
Yeah.
did, but it took for me to really sit down and have a conversation. And I know and I don't want to be stereotypical or anything like that, but I know for men that's really hard to really sit
Mhm.
down and talk, but I've really had to do that and really understand what is it, like, what is her love language and how full is her love tank. And it's almost, I think about a quote somebody said, you could either see the tank as half full or half empty, but for me, I wanted to take every opportunity I could to fill that love tank. And so I didn't look
Right.
at the negative aspects of it. That was there, but for me, I wanted to understand that here's where we are, and this is what I'm willing to do to move forward. And I had to have a conversation.
Yeah, yeah. And not to be negative, but sometimes we procrastinate in life. Well, okay,
Yeah.
I'll say I procrastinated in life. I was one of those students who I was really good at doing things last minute.
Right.
If I had a paper, I'll put it off. I'm like, oh, I can work it out.
Yeah.
And the night before, I'm stressed. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I've drank Starbucks
Yeah.
and espresso trying to get this
Good
done.
old Starbucks.
Right. And the thing is, I get it done. I remember I was saw this meme on I'm really, really into meme, guys.
Yeah.
But I saw this
Big
meme
time.
on Facebook, and it said, I've never stopped. Oh dang. Um it said I never stopped doing things at the last minute
Yeah.
because I get things done at the last minute,
Mm.
And so,
Mm.
one of the things with
That's
our
deep.
relationship is, you sometimes you see things where, you wait until somebody gets angry to do,
Oh
something nice,
man.
or you wait until, somebody's like, I just can't take it anymore, and now you're
Oh
you're you're
man.
giving your all the best,
Listen.
not realizing that if you just would have done that in the
In the
beginning,
first place, yes.
you wouldn't have been in
Yes.
this place,
Yes. And the thing, I've done it. I've been there. I've
Mhm.
done it with Liddell, but it was in those times where I realized, like, I wasn't really doing it because I wanted to do it. I was doing it to try to feel
Mm.
or try to cover up the fact that I did something wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
but at the end of the day, what we're trying to say is whatever your partner's love tank is, whatever yours is you have to do it because it's in the best interest of that person,
Right.
not because you're trying to cover up something or because you did something wrong.
Yes.
You know, like I said, I'm guilty of it, but
Mhm.
I've had to come to that realization, and the moment I changed my mindset on that, things begin to change. So
Right.
I understand that, babe.
Yeah. And I remember my mother would always tell me because I would, try my best to, get out of stuff or,
Yeah.
cover up stuff. And my mother always said, if you would just put half of the work that you're doing
Mm.
to cover it up or to make up for it
Mm.
in just doing it in the first place, you would have saved so much time
Right.
and effort, And sometimes when we think about our relationship, it doesn't take as much as we try to make it seem like it
Right.
takes.
Right.
A simple gesture, if acts of service is, the love language, a gesture, or
Yeah.
doing something small, once a day. Um, if it's quality time, maybe saying no to that one time with your friends and you're
Yeah.
like, nah, I want to, I'm going to go home with my honey and, we're going
Yeah.
to chill. And so doing those small things instead of trying to dramatically do something
Yeah.
to save a relationship.
Yeah. And my thing is, we always we like to spend time together,
Mm-hmm.
regardless. And I know there are times when my wife does say, hey, you want to hang out with this person or that person, and sometimes it can come off as me wanting to be around her too much. But I would rather be in that position than not spend any time or not make it an intentional time for me to spend time with her.
Right.
And so
Right.
I'd rather be too much for her and not be enough for her
Yeah.
than not be enough for her. Is what I mean. And so, for real, this is really important because again, we talk about love language. We're talking about the very thing that motivates your partner and yourself on what you do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you see, for me, if you see, I've understood that if Ladell is upset, of something, maybe she's not upset because of something on her, but it's something I may not be doing. And so I have to look at that. You know what I mean? And say, okay, hey, what is it that I need to do to contribute to make sure that she's not in that position anymore? And as I looked at the article again after I read that quote to you guys, it says, when a child really feels loved, he will develop normally. But when the child's love tank is empty, the child will misbehave. And so sometimes people are doing things that
Yeah.
you don't understand why they're doing it, and it may be because their love tank is getting empty.
That's real.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
real.
So
Yeah.
that's real.
Yeah.
And I've had to figure that out. So I'm not sure. But what about you, babe?
But no, that's absolutely spot on. I remember when I first got my car,
Mm-hmm.
my mom would always tell me, make sure that you keep gas in your car. And this is back in the day when
Yeah.
gas was like $1.99. Some of y'all don't even know about those days.
Nothing.
But it was $10 because I had a small neon,
Right.
and it took $10 to fill up my gas tank. But
Right.
my mother would always say, always make sure that you um, keep your gas tank at least half full. Once it hit half, put more gas because when you allow your gas tank to get low,
Right.
and on E,
Right.
I'm gonna get better, y'all. But it begins to pull, it begins to pull all this trash from the gas tank because there's nothing there. But your car is trying so hard to pull something, to fuel it.
Yeah.
And that happens in relationships sometimes. Your love tank is so low, you're trying to pull something to connect. You're trying to pull something, and sometimes it's trash. You get upset and you pulling in
Wow.
trash from the day. You're pulling in trash from the relationship. You're pulling in trash
Yeah.
from what your partner did 3 weeks ago that you
Yeah.
were supposed to let go. And it's like, wait a minute, hold on, And
Yeah.
so a part of it is, one, making sure that your love tank stays full. And in those times where you know that it's getting low, vocalize that because it's also not it's it's our responsibility as well as our partner's responsibility to keep each other's love tank full.
Yeah.
But sometimes that communication, your partner may be thinking they doing it.
Right. Listen.
I mean, press down, shaking together, running over
listen,
your love tank.
I listen. I used to think I was doing it until I had a conversation with my wife. I'm like, can you ain't doing what
right,
you
me
thought you were
too,
doing.
right? But we have to, that communication and that constant, being open and saying, hey, I'm just really not feeling it, or hey, what you did today was amazing.
Yeah.
What you celebrate is what will continue.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's real. And you said something. You made a point that I feel like was really important, and I hope you guys heard what she said. She just gave y'all a real gem right there. So if you ain't took that, now I don't know what's wrong with you.
What jam? What was it?
Like that gem. I don't. But you said something that was just key, and you said let me think back. You said you have to vocalize when you feel like your love tank is low.
Yeah.
Because my wife asked me one time, we were having a playful conversation. She asked me, she said, if you had a superpower, what superpower would you want? And I told her, I said I would want to read people's minds and not have them read mine. But in the reality, when it comes to this, I can't do that.
Right.
We can't read your minds.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, if your love tank is getting empty, we do need to vocalize that. And so I'm glad that you shared that.
Thank you, baby. But I will say, sometimes, if we've already discussed, you should know something.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
something. But it is a balance. And
Yeah.
understanding that you're in a relationship together.
Yeah.
You're in a relationship together. You have to make it work together.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that off, because we don't want y'all to think that we got it all together. We don't want you to think that this is going to be a clean slate where you go in the first time and you just get it. No, nobody's Superman, none of that. There are going to be some times where you do kind of slip.
Yeah.
But in those slip ups, you have to get up and learn from it.
Right.
So.
And one of the things that you said that was just so on point, people change.
Yeah.
And if you're not changing and you're not evolving and you're not growing, you're staying stagnant,
Right.
And we have to understand that change isn't a deal breaker.
Yeah.
But while you're constantly changing, you always have to communicate and see where each other are right now.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like I said, to end it off, that's what we wanted to share today because, and the reason why we wanted to go into part 2 because it would have been a disservice if we stopped it.
Yeah.
At the part 1 because there's so much with the love language thing, and like I said, people are always changing, and of course, I think he may be coming out with a revised. I'm not sure,
yeah.
But that just speaks of itself how grand this is and how vast this is, and so we had to do a part 2 for you guys. But for those of you out there who have not listened to the previous episode, you can follow us on YouTube at the Grams channel. Make sure you subscribe. Don't just listen, and then subscribe if you have not. And you can also follow us on SoundCloud at the Grams Podcast and our Facebook channel, Facebook page at the Grams Journey. So if you have not listened to the previous episode, you can listen to them on there. And I will give my wife the lovely honor of doing the takeaway.
Absolutely. So the takeaway that we want you guys to have for today is don't drive on E. I mean, so simple, Continue to, check your indicators, in your car, there's that little gas light, and that tells you where you are. Talk about what are your indicators in your relationship. Sometimes I know where Honey is without him even saying it because I can tell by his voice or the look on his face or when he comes in. And that's just us getting to know each other.
Yeah.
But talk about those things. And, babe, when you're not feeling loved, how does that manifest? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And talk that through. Because you can, sometimes I don't always want to say, I'm not feeling loved.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not, Honey doesn't, want to vocalize that or say that. But when we learn the indicators, we can see, okay, it's getting kind of low. Or be honest with yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
when you're not being loving.
Yes.
And there's been times where I have to apologize to my husband and say, babe, you know what? I was not loving today.
Yeah.
You know, there are times where I know we'll be on the couch and I'm on my phone, and he just really wants to spend time. I'm just like, oh, but let me finish up this game real quick, and I know that I'm making that decision.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's not even about what your partner is saying; it's about what's your heart saying.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what control do you have to make the choice to speak or not speak?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So she just said it. Don't drive on E.
Mm-hmm.
And to follow up with that, make sure the tank is full.
Yes.
You cannot drive a car with empty gas tank.
Mm-mm.
It has to be full for it to drive at its full potential.
Yes.
All right, so thank you guys again for joining us
Thank you.
for the Graham's Marriage Podcast. Again, if you have any questions for us, please reach out to us on Facebook. Like I said, SoundCloud, YouTube. We welcome the comments. We welcome the engagement.
Yes.
And also, there is a community group too called the Graham's Journey Group. So that's where we are. We have people open up in conversation about the topics and things like that. So feel
out.
free to, like I said, join the community and let's have a good time together. But thank you guys again for coming at us and coming with us on this episode
Yes, thank you guys.
of the Graham's The Journey, a newlywed's guide to learning through love.
I love you, baby.
I love you too. And we love you all.